So it basically means where one is going in life. And so I just think, I'm a servant, my identification, because based on having a goal, you have a self-identification. And my self-identification is servant of Prabhupada and also servant of Radha and Krishna and all those other nice things. And based on that self-identification and the goal, then I don't really pay attention as much to what's happening with the body or the mind. Because the mind is, according to Krishna in the Gita, restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. And to subdue it is more difficult than controlling the wind. So I just think, I just like it, don't pay attention. And you tolerate. Vacho vegam, manasa, kroda vegam, jiva vegam, udara pashta vegam. This is basic information given in the Nectar of Instruction, Upadesh Shamrita, which means the Nectar of Instruction, that one just like tolerates. And just because you have something higher that you're focused on. And so that's how you remain enthusiastic as far as a devotee is concerned. If you don't have a goal, if you just think, oh, I just want to be Krishna conscious, or I just want to enjoy this kirtan, or I just want to enjoy this prasadam, then your enthusiasm will come and go. It's not going to remain. Does that make sense? I think we...
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So, does that make sense to everybody? Were you able to understand? Yeah. Okay. So, all right, Prema, what's the next question?
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
We just had today one meeting for Bhagavad Gita thematic class, and we were speaking about that we are not the body, that we are the soul.
The soul.
So we read that we are the soul, but it is not so easy to come to the realization that we are not the body.
Yeah.
So what are really the practical steps for us that we can come to this realization?
Well, it's impossible to come to the realization of what you're not. I'm not an elephant. I am not a gorilla. How can you realize something you're not? It doesn't really make sense, right?
Yeah.
I'm not an airplane. That's pretty, oh, sorry. Pretty ridiculous. So you have to come to a realization what you are. And, we know we're a soul, but that's kind of hard. Soul, what's that? Like a ghost or something like that? So self-identification means I'm a servant of Krishna, I'm a servant of Guru, I am a compassionate person trying to give Lord Chaitanya's mercy. What are we? If you just think I'm a soul, which philosophically is true, but it doesn't strike you, a soul. I'm a soul, I'm a soul, I'm a soul. It doesn't mean anything to me, does it? Does it to you? No. I'm a soul. I'm not the body. If you go to a psychiatrist and you tell a psychiatrist you're not your body, you'll probably be locked away for some time in an institution. If you tell a psychiatrist, I'm not male, I'm not female. Of course, nowadays, actually, that would work pretty well. Because I don't know if you have in Slovenia, but it's very popular here to be gender fluid in America. You know what gender fluid is? That means
you can switch.
Yeah, you could switch each day. It's kind of cool. One day you're a gopi, the next day you're a coward boy. So anyway, so, so anyway, this not stuff doesn't work. So therefore, you pick something that you can really identify with, much more than the soul, because what is the soul's function? You have to get into the soul's function. So we call that a functional definition, not an ontological definition. That's a big word. Not really like describing the identity, but describing the function. And the function is easier to think about than the identity, isn't it? Think about it for a second.
Yes.
I'm a servant. I'm a servant of my guru. I'm a servant of humanity, even, giving them Krishna consciousness. I'm a servant of Krishna. I'm a servant of Radharani. I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm a servant, whatever. That's really easy. For me, it's easy. I just think, Prabhupada, Janme, Janme, Prabhu say. Prabhupada is my focal point for service, life after life. Janme, Janme, Prabhu say. And that's what I think of. And that's really easy. I go before the deities and think, I'm your servant. I don't tell the deities I'm not my body. That'd be kind of funny. So anyway, my dear Krishna, please let me realize I'm not my body. I mean, just phew. But when you identify with who you actually are, then in actuality you don't identify with the body anymore. That's functional. Because we are functional. When you talk about a static definition, it's like I am the body or I'm not the body. That's static. But we are not static or just like fixed living entities. We are dynamic. So therefore, a functional definition is more important than a static definition. How about that?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next question. Anybody out there want to ask a question? Lalita Sundari. Oh. Krishna conscious answer to Donald Trump's wife. Okay, Lalita.
How one develops discrimination in spiritual life?
Discrimination. Okay. So discrimination is based on something Sanskrit called Shastra Chakshus, but it goes beyond that. Shastra Chakshus means seeing through the eyes of what? Anyone know? Shastra, through scripture. But it's beyond that because Shastra doesn't describe every single circumstance, and circumstances changed from what's described in Shastra, and sometimes, this is going to get a little complicated, sometimes Shastra is descriptive rather than proscriptive. That's a hard one to understand. Sometimes Shastra describes a situation rather than tells you what you should do. Like it may describe, for example, in Shastra you have the description of Krishna marrying 16,108 wives, right? That's a lot. Adipurusha can only have one. So anyway, 16,108 wives. So that's a description. It's not a prescription. It doesn't mean that everybody should go out and do that. So in order to understand Shastra, or not in order to understand Krishna consciousness, one has to employ something called, this is a technical word, called hermeneutics, which means, how to apply the information in Krishna consciousness. I'm going to give you a short course right now in hermeneutics, if that's all right. How to apply Krishna consciousness in the real world, not 5,000 years ago in Dwapara Yuga or millions of years ago in Treta Yuga or in Satya Yuga. So how you do that is very interesting. First of all, you have to identify the principles that are inseparable from Krishna consciousness. In other words, Krishna is God, thank God. Krishna is God, Radharani is his girlfriend. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna is nice. I'm just speaking a little jokingly right now, but these are basic. These are called. Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls these the mula. He lists 10 of them. He calls a dasha mula, which means 10 foundational principles. Other things are details, how to apply principles. For example, let me give you a practical example. So a principle is chanting Hare Krishna, following the 4 regulated principles, offering your food to Krishna, fine. So as far as what type of food you offer to Krishna, as long as it's vegetarian, that's just a detail. It's not that Krishna is any more pleased if you offer him, Hungarian goulash. Or sauerkraut, the German sauerkraut, is European examples. But it's not that he's more pleased with a sweet ball. He's pleased with what? Love and devotion. So you have to understand the underlying principles so you can discriminate according to time, place, and circumstance. And that takes a lot of intelligence. So basically, understanding Shastra, or understanding the words of the spiritual master, or the activities of the spiritual master, requires that one understand what the basic principles are in Krishna consciousness. And then one has the leeway or the freedom to apply those according to time, place, and circumstance to maximize Krishna consciousness. For example, Rupa Goswami gives 2 regulative principles which are different than the ones we normally hear. One is to always remember Krishna, and the second one is to never forget Krishna. And I'll give 2 more regulative principles, like Rupa Goswami. The next one, once you've done those 2, is to try to bring people to Krishna consciousnness. And the next one is not to discourage people from Krishna consciousness. So based on, I try to live my life by those principles, also, servant of Prabhupada. But servant of Prabhupada is a principle. It's not a detail. So therefore, one has to discriminate based upon principles that you never deviate from. And you judge everything by the principles. For example, if you notice that before I started, interacting with you all here today, I played the guitar. So whether I play the guitar or the sitar or the drum or the harmonium, that's a detail. There's nothing shastric against the guitar or for a harmonium or against a harmonium or for cartels or against cartels. The whole point is to chant Krishna's name. And so, therefore, so the third regulative principle I mentioned, it's useful in attracting Western people to Krishna consciousness. So more people become attracted when I do that. And anyway, so that people won't be discouraged. So just like in our temple here in the morning, if anyone watches our morning program, so sometimes we have a violin playing, we have an accordion, and a guitar during the morning program. And a lot of people are attracted until I get kicked out of the Hare Krishna movement. Then that's another thing. But no, obviously I use cartels for the regular Mangalarti. But in the Shingadev prayers, I play the guitar. For greeting the deities, we have a bhajan. I play the guitar in the morning. And people are starting to come. Western people just like really like it. And they're starting to chant Hare Krishna. We're making more devotees now. We're getting ready to start a Krishna House program in a big city near here, which is in Raleigh. I think Prema knows where Raleigh is, and Adipurusha knows where Raleigh is, where there's a university with 30 or 40,000 students. And anyway, utility is the principle, as Prabhupada said, right? Books are the basis, purity is the force, right? Utility is the principle. Preaching is the essence. So that's what I try to think of. And so I use discrimination on that basis. You know, to try to always remember Krishna. What is always remembering Krishna? It means remembering I'm a servant of Krishna. And automatically you don't forget Krishna. And trying to bring people to Krishna consciousness and trying not to discourage or drive people away from Krishna consciousness. When I first visited a Hare Krishna temple in 1969, they drove me out of the temple. I mean, of course, I looked like a bear. Probably they didn't think I was a human being because I had so much hair. So they thought one of the bears from the forest had wandered into the temple. But anyway, they preached so heavy to me about surrendering that I didn't want anything to do with the Krishna conscious movement for about 2 years until I met Prabhupada. I met Prabhupada 50 years ago, July 29th, 1971. I met Srila Prabhupada. We're having a festival, actually in Gainesville, Florida this year, where when I met Prabhupada, you know, actually not for me meeting Prabhupada, but when Prabhupada came to Gainesville. So anyway, so that's discrimination based upon inviolable principles, principles that you never change. That's what discrimination is. Put that up there. So, how about that? Is that all right? Yes, no, happy, sad. Get some sun in the UK. There is no sun in the UK. It's probably the most, anyway. So, at least Slovenia is nice. You got mountains. You got so many nice things in Slovenia. I wish I was there. Actually, this Monday I'm having a meeting with the council in Slovenia. We're having a meeting with the Slovenian preaching council. So who else has a question? Yes, Danilo.
Hare Krishna, accept my humble obeisances.
Haribol.
I read in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Prabhupada describes that the conclusion that the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego creates an atmosphere with desires and ambitions that the living entity enjoys in the subtle body.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what did Prabhupada mean by that the living entity enjoys in the subtle body? Is that literally or just suffering consequences of our activities?
All right. Good question. Well, the subtle body is the mind, intelligence, and ego. It's called the linga sharira. So, based upon the condition of the subtle mind, we enjoy certain sense objects. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's described that when the living entity goes from one body to another, that subtle mind carries the conceptions or attachments. Let me use the word attachments from one body to another. Bhagavad Gita uses the example like the air carries the aromas from one place to another. So based upon the attachments of the mind, one enjoys certain things or suffers certain things. So everything is based upon attachment. For example, if I am very attached, and I use this example very often, if I am very attached to my car and my car gets smashed up, then I suffer. But if your car gets smashed up, which is not my car, I do not suffer. It is very interesting. I'll take pictures of it with my cell phone. Whoops. Anyway, tell the camera to go in again. So I have a camera that listens to me sometimes. So and it follows me too, see? I can go anywhere I want. So anyway, so it's good for when you're preaching a lot. So anyway, so if I'm attached to something, I get enjoyment or suffering from it. If I'm not attached to it, there's no suffering and no enjoyment. So everything's based upon the mind's attachment. So it's the mind that actually determines. And if you give up, of course, this is what the Buddhists believe too, that the Four Noble Truths, that the material world is suffering, suffering is caused by attachment, give up the attachment, then the suffering goes away, and then, of course, the fourth one is you got to follow the Buddhist path in order to do that. So you obviously, as we mentioned before, can't give up the attachment. You have to be attached to something superior. Bhagavad Gita tells us, in Sanskrit, is raso varjam rasopyasa paramdrishya nivartate. One has to have a higher taste or a higher pleasure in order to be detached from the world. But everything's based upon the mind. Like you see, certain people, the mind is conditioned to like certain types of food. In certain parts of the world, people like eating bugs. You know, they'll actually take a worm. You may have heard about this, and they'll think this is delicious. In Burma, for example, they put dead bodies in a pot and make a liquid out of it, and they consider it to be a delicacy. They call it liquid dog. So it's pretty horrible. So everybody, like, that's the mind. The mind is conditioned to like a certain thing. It's the subtle mind. And you can uncondition or decondition the mind. I mean, there was psychologists who understood how to do that, to condition or decondition the mind. That's called behavioral psychology. By rewards and punishment, they could uncondition or decondition the mind to like different things. Or a hypnotist can do that. The hypnotist can condition your mind so you think you're a dog. Right, Prema? So she said, you are a dog. And so it's all based on the mind. And then as a dog, you run around enjoying life as a dog because it's all the mind. It's not the gross body that determines your desires. It's the subtle mind. And it's the subtle mind that enjoys because of the attachment. For example, let me give a computer example. Let's say you're playing a video game and you're enjoying or suffering or feeling anger because the mind is interpreting what's happening on the screen in a certain way. Or here's another example. I gave this in class the other day. When I was young, my mother took me to a movie, one of these romance movies. It was called Love Story. And in this story. You know, it's like Romeo and Juliet type of thing, where they both end up killing each other. I'm sure you all know Romeo and Juliet or West Side Story. You know, these are all the same. You know, it's a similar story. And she was crying at the end. I mean, she couldn't stop crying. And I kept telling her, Mother, it's just a movie. But her mind caused her to suffer or enjoy. You know, she was enjoying suffering. Sometimes the ladies enjoy suffering like that. You know, crying. The men don't enjoy it so much. So anyway, so apart from that, it's all the mind. Yeah. The mind, and if the mind is fixed on Krishna, the mind is purified. Shuddha habima, hamana, kabe hama, hirabo, Sri Vrindavana. That's Bengali. When the mind is purified, then the mind is in Vrindavan. Then you're in Vrindavan. So it's Shuddha habimana means the purified mind. Kabe hama, hirabo, Sri Vrindavana. So that's our goal. So, yes, the mind is the friend of the, you know, so much information in Bhagavad Gita. Mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, very strong. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul. Mind is the enemy. The uncontrolled mind is the enemy. The controlled mind is the friend. I mean, this is basic Bhagavad Gita philosophy. Is that all right? Okay, the mind. Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindaya. So, who else has a question or doubt? No one. Oh, Tarlachi. Oh, Madhurya and Tarlachi, whoever goes first.
Oh, Madhurya, would you like to ask first? Madhuri Radhika Mataji? No? So, Srila Gurudev, thank you for first I have to apologize for my disrespectful behavior while celebrating your Vyasa Puja. I'm still embarrassed. So
What did you do? I don't remember anything bad.
Oh, I didn't finish my my offering. I was so disturbed. So I decide. I choose that I won't speak whenever I won't be prepared carefully, while my English is so bad and so
That's
on.
fine. That's fine. I mean, it's better to be shy.
Okay, thank you. But still, I have one question. Uh, um, I'm wondering why some devotees call their gurus like Guru Maharaj, and we are calling you Guru Dev. What is the difference? I just can't figure out
There's no difference.
what is that.
No difference.
No difference.
No.
Because Maharaj is king and Deva is demigod.
Godly, yeah. It's
Godly.
basically, you know, just different ways of calling the guru. Guru Maharaj, Guru Dev, Guru, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Either way, you know, or what other way do we call my guru or whatever.
I heard that this is the difference is between this Maharaj, which is king, and Deva, which is half demigods, or that they that these impersonalists are calling their gurus like Gurudev. I heard
Well,
that.
impersonalists do something, use the same words we do, but there's nothing wrong with it. Guru Dev or Guru Maharaj or Guru Raj.
Ja.
Guru. I'm trying to think of some funny
I-
name.
Okay.
Funny name for guru. But anyway, guru. Anyway, whatever. Or my
And
guru. Yeah. So don't worry.
something more. Okay. Thank you.
You,
Something.
you,
Oh, I'm sorry, please.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's got another question. You have another
No
question?
question, but I would like, I have very, very big request for you, because you are reading this Chaitanya Charitamrita, yes, and I would like to join, but it is so far. I would like to read with you from the beginning, but I
Okay.
can't find this on Facebook. Is there some?
Yes. Yes, it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube, on my
Oh
YouTube
yes.
channel. If you go to YouTube, my YouTube channel, it's Pure Krishna Goswami, and
Yeah.
the whole Adi Leela is there under the heading of Adi Leela. I've actually put it in different chapters. Not chapters,
Okay.
but different sections. There's the Adi Leela and Madhya Leela. We've done a little bit of the Madhya Leela so far, but we did the whole Adi Leela.
Okay. Thank you very
So if
much.
you go to YouTube,
Yes.
it's all on there.
Okay, I will find. My husband will help me. He is computer man.
Yes, he's very good.
Thank you.
And he's a very quiet husband, too. He never talks back. He's not able to
Yeah.
talk because he had an operation. So he's like the ideal husband that every woman would want.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That never,
Thank you, Srila
never
Gurudev.
talks, just has to listen all the time. I mean, it's ideal. Like every lady wants to have a husband who just listens all the time and never says anything.
That's not like that, but okay, because he has some voice,
Some
so
voice.
he
But
yeah,
limited.
a little bit.
Little bit. It's limited. So this is ideal relationship. We should
Yeah.
we should institute this in our Krishna consciousness movement in the future. So all right.
Thank
So
you, Srila.
more questions. Actually, we only have about 15 minutes, and then I have another seminar I have to be on. Madhuri Radhika has a question, and then Anja.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, my question is about children, and like you mentioned that one important principle is to bring people to Krishna consciousness, and we try to, in our small humble way, we try to introduce or inspire our grandchildren to do something also. And my question is about we are about to get Kaunita deities in our home. They haven't arrived yet, but we also ordered small Kaunita, they call it like dolls, but they look happy doll. Yeah, they look very, very, very beautiful. They look like really real ones, but just, they are light. And our grandchildren are 3 and 6, and smaller one is even not 1 year, but they are very curious, and they like to listen to stories, and they want to imitate what we do. And my question is how much, or how to guide them to worship these dolls, or how much, or how little, or any advice?
Well, with those little plastic happy dolls, just tell them to chant Hare Krishna to the little happy dolls, and whatever they eat, as long as it's vegetarian, they can just put in front of them and just chant Hare Krishna to them. And they could definitely do something so simple like that. The main thing with children is to set a good example, and they will copy you. They will emulate what you do. There's no need of instruction with children so small like that. In fact, instruction for children that small will be traumatic. Like if you say, don't do this, that's moochie. I've seen so many children traumatized. Oh, don't go near me, you're moochie. Then then it's very traumatic for the little children. So just present it as something very joyful and happy. Set a good example, be happy and joyful yourself, and let everything be voluntary for the children.
Yeah.
Then they'll naturally take up Krishna consciousness. Anything you force children to do, they won't want to do later on. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of the children, excuse me, in the Krishna conscious movement who are brought up in a very forced situation, and they don't they don't want anything to do with Krishna consciousness because they were actually forced to chant, forced to dance for the deities, forced. And they're suffering from what we call post-traumatic stress disorder. So with children, you just set a good example. It's joyful. Whatever they do is nice. I mean, I'm just very open with children, and we have a lot of children here who are doing devotional service. I have one disciple who's about 16. She's dressing the deities regularly here, and no one told her to do it. I mean, she's just like doing it, and she's still going to school, and she just wants to do it. And she dresses the deities by herself and does beautifully. Amazing. But nobody forced her. It's all spontaneous. So let children be spontaneous. Let children have fun, and let them play and do whatever, within reason, what they want to do.
Right.
Anyway, also
Yeah.
there's a whole chapter in my book, Empathic Communication, about raising children. We're just finishing up a training course for trainers in the next few weeks, because I have 6 people that I'm training up to be trainers in empathic communication. And
When will be next course?
maybe next course. and actually one of the ladies I've been training up is now going to be teaching at the GBC College about empathic communication. Because I don't have time. They asked me to teach, but I don't have time. My life is too busy to get into doing anything more than I'm doing right now. So I have a whole bunch of new people who are actually going to be training, especially this one lady. She's very expert. She's gone to my 3 or 4 of my seminars, and now we've had like several months of training. Certification, like you're certified NBC.
It's out of date, long time.
Out of date. But you're still empathic. Okay, so we have time for another question from
Thank you.
Anya.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to ask something about according compassion, and that is how to be compassionate to a person who is rude or very disrespectful towards us, like practically.
Okay. If this was America, I'd say you shoot him, but since it's not America. Okay, so let's have a quick course in empathic communication. Let's say someone says something that causes you pain in some way or other. Then you understand that his or her actions are not really the cause of the pain, but stimulating a need for nice relationships, for example. So you take responsibility. You've read my book on empathic communications, right? Or no? So you know what I'm talking about. So you actually take responsibility for your feelings. You're feeling angry, or you're feeling discouraged, whatever. And so you take responsibility. You think that I'm feeling discouraged because I have a need for good relationships, for loving relationships. I'm just giving an example. It may be other needs. And then based on that, when you really understand and take responsibility for your own feelings, then you're not going to call that person disrespectful anymore, you're going to see this person is suffering. See, compassion comes for other people when one is first compassionate for oneself. Until you can actually take responsibility and take care of your own needs, you're not going to be able to be compassionate. You're going to be judgmental towards the other person. You're going to say, he's disrespectful, he's a nonsense, or she's a nonsense. They're demons. You know, we got all these nice words. They're demons. Or she's a rakshasa, non-devotee. Anyway, I can give you a whole bunch of words you can use. So then instead you take responsibility, you get yourself centered emotionally, so you're no longer like in pain yourself. And then you look at the other person and you can see that they're actually suffering. Why is that person acting in that way, which you previously considered to be oppositional or nasty or whatever? Because they themselves have some need. They're reaching out to you. See, when someone says something to me, let's say if they say to me, Maharaj, you are a rascal. That means they're in pain. But I first have to take care of my own pain first. Because if someone, actually, usually if someone calls me a rascal, it's just humorous, because it happens all the time. I get used to it. In the modern world, when you're on the internet, there's always at least 10 times a day someone who calls me a rascal or something worse. So at this point, it's just like, wow, just a test of my compassion. So then what I do is I try to understand and see their pain, and try to understand what needs they have, and then compassion really arises in my heart. So that's really, a devotee is supposed to be vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu, unlimited compassion. But we can only be unlimitedly compassionate when we're taking care of our own needs. Like if you're hungry, you can't be compassionate. Usually if you're hungry, you get angry. So you got all these basic needs, and in the interactions with people, one of the basic needs is mutual respect, or love, or communication, or anything like that. And so we just take care of our needs. We understand that that person is not meant to fulfill my needs. I can look at other places or other persons to fulfill my needs. Just like if you have, I'll give you a funny example. If there's someone, you have a relationship with someone and they're not fulfilling your needs, then you have a need for communication or love, then someone may just get a dog. We had one lady visit here, and she had this big dog, but she was so happy. I'm not saying you should get a dog. This is just... She was so happy because at least she had someone who loved her. And she's one of the happiest ladies I've ever met. It's better than a husband. No, not really. So, because she was fulfilling her need with that, and she was so tolerant of all the different situations because all of her needs were being fulfilled. So that's not a suggestion to get a dog. So anyway, but I'm just making the point is that when we have a strategy and we take responsibility to fulfill our needs, then true compassion can be manifested towards other people at that point. Otherwise, it's just going to be, fighting or exploitation. Like if I'm looking at you or I'm looking at anybody to fulfill my needs, that's an exploitative relationship. So Srila Prabhupada, let's get back to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was fully fulfilled himself, spiritually and every other way. So he could give love to us, and his love for us was causeless because it wasn't based on him fulfilling any of his needs with us. That was the first impression I got from Prabhupada. That here is someone who loves me, who's not needing anything from me, because his needs were 100% fulfilled. And whatever I did, it wouldn't interfere with his needs. So whatever he did was simply out of love and compassion for me and for everybody else too. And that's a really important point. So I think I have to end now because I have this other seminar that's beginning. So thank you very much. I mean, we could do this on a regular fashion, maybe next Saturday or the Saturday afterwards. But it's really good to see everybody. This is great. I love Zoom. I'm a Zoom addict. Anyway, so hopefully we'll see you all soon, okay? Gotta end.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, Srila Gurudev.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada
Ki
ki
Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premananda. Haribol.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Haribol.